Project Motor Racing is almost here, and I feel like it has the weight of the sim racing community on its shoulders, given that I've covered on this channel launches from the likes of Le Mans Ultimate, ASETEK Evo, ASETEK Rally, Rennsport amongst others, and some of them have been far less polished, some of them have been disappointments. I feel like I need to let you know my expectations and my hopes for Project Motor Racing. So what is Project Motor Racing? It's going to be a cross-play racing simulator on PS5, Xbox Series X and PC as well. They're promising to kind of revolutionize the single player aspect of the game and also do some very refreshing things in multiplayer. They're promising that it's going to be a good experience on console, but also be a really fulfilling sim on PC as well. So I'm going to start with my hopes here, the single player. I'm going to hope and I expect them to deliver on the promises they've made in single player. What do I mean by that? So they're doing a single player campaign different to pretty much any other racing game out there at the moment, whether it's sim or simcade or arcade or whatever. You're going to start with a budget. You can choose which kind of budget you start with, a bit like Football Manager, and then you're going to have to enter races, pay entry fees, pay travel fees to get to the races, pay for damage you incur in the races, and then hopefully have enough sponsorship and winnings to make profit and to upgrade your cars and enter more races. That is either going to be really frustrating or really rewarding. I like that gameplay loop. That reminds me of the inverted commas sims I was playing when I was younger, like Sega GT, Forza Motorsport 3 as well. I remember playing where you had to kind of win. You got bonuses for making the driving as difficult as possible and then reinvesting your earnings. And that was very, very, very satisfying. I do feel like paying for your travel fees and entry fees for races could get jarring. It's going to be one of these things that there is going to be a portion of the community that just doesn't like it. Could you imagine in Gran Turismo if you had to pay to travel to certain races? It would be controversial, but I hope they stick by this. I hope they deliver this experience where it's meaningful in the single player, what cars you're driving, how you're upgrading your cars, and that the victories feel meaningful as well. Now, sticking with single player for a moment, I hope, but I am not expecting, that the AI is going to give a decent challenge in single player. From the footage I've seen, I am not expecting this. I don't know whether they've done some big improvement, but I feel like the way the AI has been seen driving on the grass and stuff is going to need some improvements. But I hope there's going to be a great AI experience, because if there's not, that's just going to hamper the single player campaign. It's going to be all very well and good having the structure set up for single player that is meant to be very rewarding, but it's not going to feel rewarding if you're just battering AI. So I hope that the AI is going to be good as well. Let's switch gears a little bit now to multiplayer. And by the way, there's a really interesting dynamic that I wonder if they could take across from single player, which is that you have to get sponsors in single player, and the sponsors may cover your travel fees, the sponsors may cover your damage. I would actually like in multiplayer if there was an element like that as well. I'd love if you could have communities or clubs or teams, or maybe even like myself, like creators, and we could sponsor drivers. You could ride under sponsorship knowing your damage has been covered, and there's kind of like a meta game there. I think that would be really interesting. Almost like, not really Drive Club-esque, but you kind of know what I'm saying by this. It could be a great meta to the game. But anyway, when we go into multiplayer, I hope and I expect that they're going to deliver a great cross-play online lobby experience, ranked lobby experience on console and PC. They say there's going to be races every 15 minutes or so, and the race themselves are going to be 15 minutes. Now, if you're an expert in online racing games like me, you know that doesn't really work. You want your races to be like around 10 minutes and then to be every 20 minutes. So you have time to get in the lobby, to warm up, to do your race, do your post-race, and then a couple of minutes for the next race. So hopefully they can sort that out. But if it's going to be good cross-play, say for example in like Mazda MX-5s or something like that, or the GT3s, that's what I was hoping for with Rennsport. It doesn't seem like Rennsport has captured the public yet. Let's be honest about it. Let's just be real about it. So the lobbies I don't think are super populated. Project Motor Racing has another shot. I think a lot of people have probably pre-ordered this game, so people are going to give it a chance. I hope the lobbies work. I expect them to work. They should work. They should know how many people have pre-ordered the game. They should know how many people to expect to buy the game on day one. And I hope it's going to be a fun ranked simulator. There's some promising things they're saying about the online. One of them is if you just drive like an idiot, you will get disqualified. That's something Gran Turismo doesn't do. Let me repeat that. In Gran Turismo, you can drive like the worst driver ever. You can drive insanely bad, but you won't get disqualified. You'll just keep racking up penalties. Whereas Project Motor Racing say that you will get disqualified. The other thing that's interesting is that they're going to give not like a ELO thing. Like so on Gran Turismo, I'm an A+ driver, but my DR is always moving around in that band. But in Project Motor Racing, they say every driver is going to be given a score out of 100. So I like that. I like the fact that I can, if I go into a lobby and there's a 99 ranked driver, I'm like, oh, that driver's 99 ranked. To me, that's quite easy to understand. I'm really interested to see what ranking I'm going to get. I feel like I'm going to be more incentivized to increase my ranking. There will be a dynamic where you want to protect your ranking and therefore you're disincentivized to actually race at short notice. That's just a funky thing about online competitive racing. But I'm excited, I'm hopeful, I'm expecting that the online aspect of the game is going to be good. Now, here are things I'm not hoping for or expecting. I'm not expecting VR at launch. Even though when I was covering this game months ago in the Sim Racing show, week in, week out, they were talking about VR, making noises about VR. I said to everyone, no matter the noises, this is never going to come out on PSVR 2 because I don't think any racing game comparable to Gran Turismo 7 is ever going to come out on PSVR 2, and I'll stick by that. But they were saying it was going to come out on PC VR. As I understand it, it's no longer coming out on PC VR. So I'm not expecting that. I'm not expecting to come out on PC VR. The other thing that I'm not expecting this to look as good as Gran Turismo 7 on console. Again, I just feel like Polyphony Digital are wizards. Gran Turismo is a very good looking game. They keep pushing it with 120Hz and ray tracing and PS5 Pro enhanced and everything like that. I just don't see how Project Motor Racing is going to get close to that on console. So I'm not expecting it. So if I review this game on launch and the graphics on PS5 are not that good, I'm not going to slate the game for it. That, to me, that's understood. It was the same with ACC. Like, it's the opportunity for these games on console against Gran Turismo 7 is for me to have a more functional offering rather than necessarily just look better. So that's my opinion there. I do hope on PC it's going to look really good. Now, there's some issues I have with Rennsport, like the grandstands not being populated. You can see that when I drove this game at the Sim Racing Expo in Germany, the grandstands were populated. I don't know what system it was running on, but I'm going to be running it on a 4090 PC, and I hope it looks really good. Rennsport looks really good on PC. The graphics for me are incredible on PC, but there's something about the environment, the empty grandstands, the overgrown grass, that just seems a little bit unusual. Hopefully Project Motor Racing can nail that. Now, an interesting one here, because an area that I'm hopeful for and I'm really expecting is an area that doesn't really exist in some other games, and this is like competitive single player. So they've made a lot of noise about leaderboards, and not just leaderboard, but like leaderboard endurance races. So races where you're racing against the AI to set the best possible time, and they've said these could be really long endurance races. I feel like that could scratch such a itch for the single player community who needs to be able to pause the game, because maybe we've got young kids like myself, or we need to care for other people or whatnot, or answer the door. We live in the real world, so we need to pause it, so we can't just always be online. So for those people, it's great. And also, if you're someone that wants to really set up your car, do some hot laps, I think those leaderboards could be great as well. Project Motor Racing have said they're going to set up some kind of like factory leaderboards, but I think the leaderboard situation could be interesting. And this gets me into probably the most unknown point, okay? So I've driven this game at the Sim Racing Expo, and the handling was very unusual. So I've done a lot of reading into Project Motor Racing. I've read the whole website. There's a lot of detail on the website. It's actually a great resource. Obviously, it's their marketing. They're going to present everything in the best light. They're talking about their track technology as something called true to track, okay? Seems a bit of a buzzword. When I read into this, really read into it, the nitty gritty of it is that the track seems to be broken up into squares or tiles that are 7 centimeters by 7 centimeters, and those tiles will dynamically adjust. So for example, if it's raining but you go across that tile in a GT3, it's going to clear some water. When you go past it, it's going to keep accumulating water and start puddling and things like that. I'm a bit concerned that 7 centimeters is actually too big a tile. The way that I drive in Gran Turismo, I'm probably a few centimeters, I would hope, away from the white line in the wet. and a 7cm tile could technically go over that white line and onto my tyre when, you know, I'm driving to the visual white line. But we'll see that, you know, small margins. But again, this is where you split Project Motor Racing from being an accessible console racer to a hardcore sim on PC, and it kind of at the moment is trying to be both, and we'll see on the spectrum where it ends up. But this true to track technology, I think, will dictate the success or not success of Project Motor Racing, because it sounds like that the handling of the cars is actually going to be really affected by the track. So it's not going to be an easy tweak to tweak car handling, and we will find out on launch if this is quite a difficult sim or this is quite a forgiving sim. Rennsport is such an incredibly forgiving driving game. I wouldn't even necessarily call it like a sim. Gran Turismo is very forgiving because it's just not simulating that much. iRacing is very unforgiving. I've just done a 23-hour race in iRacing this weekend. 23 hours. I can tell you, it's a very unforgiving sim. Like, it's brutal. It's simulating a lot in terms of the way the car's loading on the curbs, etc. Now, Project Motor Racing say they're doing a 720 hertz tick rate thing on console as well. Is that a buzzword or not? We'll have to see. The final thing that I'm hopeful that we're not going to see, I don't want to drive this and feel like this is an evolution of Need for Speed Shift or Project Cars 2. I want to feel like this is a sim where I'm going to feel like this is going to be fresh in 3 to 4 years time. If it already feels dated on day one, that's going to date it really, really, really quickly. So I hope we don't see it. Now, this video doesn't end here, because please vote for me in the Autosport Awards. I've been nominated as Creator of the Year and I need your help. So please vote for me in the link at the top of the description and let me know in the comments what you want to see from Project Motor Racing. I will see you in the next one.